My name is Shawn Lesser, and I'm the founder of the Real Mental Health Foundation.
What inspired you to create the Real Mental Health Foundation?
What inspired me? Very good question. So, I went through some mental health struggles myself. I was in the psych ward. I was in two mental health facilities for about 70 days. And when I came out, I had learned certain things that I thought could help other folks. I had another friend involved, and we just thought that there's a lot of men, women, and families that are suffering, and hopefully, with some of the experiences that we had, we could help other folks.
So, what is the Real Mental Health Foundation?
So the foundation is really, mental health is complicated. There's a lot of different pieces, right? So the foundation itself is based on the power, using the power of conversation and community to help people, because that especially was super helpful for me to one, the conversation, hearing that was not the only one that is feeling this way, because so many people get into that kind of head and they feel very alone and what's wrong with me and no one else is feeling this way when it's really actually the exact opposite. um, that everyone at some time, I was at a 10, that was a bad place, but everyone sometime in their life is at a 2 or 4 or 6 and 8. So it's having those conversations and giving those talks across the country, across the globe. So that's one side, is the conversations. And then the second piece, which was super helpful for me, kind of fits in nicely within the conversation, is community. It's along the same lines. Having Part of my story was having a friend of mine who became, in essence, what I call my mental health sponsor. If you think of Alcoholics Anonymous, you have a sponsor. It's the same type of thing, basically a buddy. So to bring people together, because when we come together, we're stronger. You can also help support each other so you don't feel alone. So there's more to it, but that's the basic premise of the foundation.
And you have something big coming up. Can you tell me about the upcoming Real Summit?
Sure, and I should say there's two parts to the reel, and it's only 15, 16 months old, but there's the for-profit and the non-for-profit. So the non-for-profit is the foundation, and then the for-profit is around the summit. So my background is I helped co-found the first impact investing investment bank, and I did that for 16 years. So when I went through my struggles, my situations, a lot of investors, a lot of companies, a lot of different folks had come to me. I had a non-compete with my old firm. It ended, so I can go back into the kind of finance space. So the idea there was to do a summit, because I had put on about 60 or so different investor conferences over the years. So the summit is the real summit. It's the intersection of finance and mental health. This will be next week, October 17th and 18th. We're lucky enough that Deutsche Bank is the lead sponsor and host, so we'll have it at their headquarters at One Columbus Circle in New York City. What's the objective of the summit? It's really threefold. So one, we want to help to build out the mental health ecosystem. So on that side, part of the summit is kind of your typical investment type of event, having companies, having funds, investors, what are the trends, family offices, foundations, all those different things. But the second part is also, which probably would have been helpful for me, is helping the people that attend get more educated around their own mental health or how they can help people. So we have a workshops on how you can help yourself, how you can help your children, how to become a better leader, etc. So hopefully when people leave after the 2 days, what happens? One, sure, maybe we move some capital, help to build out the mental health ecosystem. That's terrific. Two, if someone's there, hopefully they learn something that can help them, a family member, a friend, whoever it is, a coworker, help them with their mental health. And then three, tying it back to the foundation, it's also about community and trying to not just have the event, but have ongoing things past the event that happen, and bring people into a community to help support each other.
What is it like partnering with other change makers for the summit?
It's nice because I look at this as kind of a platform, and the platform is not, oh, hey, I want to help the real, but that's about helping the space, helping the ecosystem grow. So it's helping to get the word out there. I also think I was early on in impact investing, and I saw how it grew, and I saw how it was scaled. I think mental health is at a similar space right now, and so we can. It's not, when you say I've seen that movie before, so I've seen that movie before, so I kind of have a feel. It's not exactly the same movie, but I have a feel on how to help scale this space. So that's a goal for sure.
What kind of impact can businesses and investors make on the mental health field?
I think it can make a big change. You also have to look at it as if you have healthy workers, they're going to be more productive,
Mm.
right? And if you look at something like the stats, like we lose something like $1 trillion in productivity every year around mental health. There's some ridiculous number of days off. So if you have a healthy physical and mental workforce and people, they are. It's going to help them. It's going to help the company and hopefully help the bottom line.
How does it feel for you to see all your passions come together?
Um, it's nice. It's nice. It's a lot of skills that you kind of go through life and you learn a lot of things and you're like, what is this for? What is that for? So it's nice that it's kind of it intertwines kind of all these different areas that I already had experience in on the investment side, on putting in different conferences, on public speaking, and then you throw in my personal experience around mental health. So it just became a really, hopefully, a powerful combination.
For me, when I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder 2, I didn't say anything for 2.5 years.
Yeah, yeah,
And then once I did say something, it changed my life for the better. How
true.
does it feel for you to tell people your mental health story?
Sure. So you get it the same as me. In the beginning, you're a little bit afraid, but after you do it a while, you're like, all right, this is no big deal. And then
Right.
really, the more people that you talk to, I've had maybe 1,000 conversations, Michael, and I couldn't tell you how many times I tell someone, what I went through, and then they say, Shawn, I never told anyone this, but, and then
Yeah.
they tell me about themselves, their family members, their friends. So, especially in mental health, this affects pretty much every human. I don't care social, economic, race, creed, color, what part of the world you're in. Maybe there's some different flavors, but this is part of being human. So, it's it's kind of normal to me to talk about it now. It's not like, oh my god.
How does it feel for you to help others?
I think there's no better thing to do because when you help other people, you're actually also helping yourself. Because if you say, what did you do today? Right? Yeah, you're in finance, made money. But if I could say, hey, there was a dude in trouble, I had a conversation with him, and, hopefully he's feeling a little bit better. There's really nothing better than that. And that's helping that person, and that's actually helping you too. And then I also think in that circumstance, you kind of play it forward because you helped that person with some things that maybe you learned, and then they could pass it on to other folks.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
For me specifically, what was super helpful for me, and I still do, of course, you can do mindfulness, yoga, meditation, journaling, all those things you should do. I just got back from the gym. But I think for me, the most important thing was kind of changing the lens in my glasses, right? Just looking at things and seeing them a little clearer. So what do I mean by that? So some examples. So one is thinking that you're not enough, right? But realizing that you have a business, you don't have a business, whatever happens, you're always enough. Now it's hard to live that. It's also, society, social media, the news tells you differently, but at the end of the day, that's a fact. Another thing is, we have so many thoughts in our mind, and I am not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, or but I've heard 3,000, 10,000, 30,000. I don't know how many thoughts you have in your mind, but there's a lot, right? And in the past, I would run down those different thoughts like they were rabbit holes, and it was very, very exhausting, right? But if you realize that those are just like clouds, they're going to come and go, you don't have to chase every thought that goes through your mind. Because again, it's very tiring. And then the other thing is try to realize, and again, it's hard to do. Society tells you differently that happiness, and it's no new science, is found inside, not outside, right? So just kind of reminding yourself of these different things. Another important thing for me is to end what I call is the comparathon, which is very painful, comparing yourself to other people. Um, so
Yeah.
once you realize that, they have certain skills and abilities and you're just different. And again, that's hard to do, but that just reinforces um, in my mind how I feel.
What would you say to anyone going through a tough time?
I think a big thing is kind of, I don't know if it's about saying anything specific, but it's also about, and this happens all the time, Michael, you probably same to you, is just being like, dude, I know exactly how you feel. Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to take a shower, right? You don't want to do anything. And you think that this will never end and you will always be like this. And basically, you will be handicapped in that way. And I can tell them with clarity that I know exactly how you feel. Right? And I also to tell you 100%, I know that that is temporary, even though you think, like me, when I was in that situation, that it's permanent. So there's other things you could tell folks, but just kind of understanding that you've been there is super helpful. Therapists are good, but if you have it's also good to have lived experience that you could share with someone else. It could be like, hey man, it doesn't, it could be a man, a woman, it doesn't matter. And younger, older, it doesn't matter. There's something about saying, I get it. I have empathy. I'm vulnerable. I'm going to tell you what happened to me. And they just feel like, okay, I'm not the only one, out there, which I think, helps bring up their spirits some.
Where do you want to see the mission of all your organizations in the next 3 to 5 years?
This is a tough question, Michael. I say right now that I was in a treatment center about 15 months ago. So
Yeah.
I'm glad where it's going right now. But I think it's basically to help to build out the mental health ecosystem. So what does that mean? On one side, to use those contacts and skills I have on the finance side, wrapping it together with the summit to also bring more capital into the space to help bring more innovation to the space. That's one side. And then the other side is more on the foundation side to help people feel better about themselves through the conversation, helping to build community, to really, that I think full circle, helping within the mental health space.
How can people reach out and learn more?
Sure, a couple of different ways. People can always find me on LinkedIn under my name, Shawn Lesser. They can go to the real dot cares. That's the website. That's the foundation. The real events. That's where we're having the event at Deutsche Bank, and then we're just starting. So there's going to be a lot more going on. Again, this is not even a year and a half old.